Château de Luçon in the Vaud canton of Switzerland, a remote medieval castle once visited by emperors and popes. For some years now it's been the home of an Englishman, Adrian Conan Doyle, son of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes and the world's best-selling author of all time after the Bible and Shakespeare. Adrian Conan Doyle devotes his life to sustaining his father's memory and reputation. At the Chateau's Conan Doyle Foundation, he has created the famous Sherlock Holmes room. This is the famous room.
This is the famous room, 221B Baker Street. Little fog outside the window and so on. Now, the most important thing about this room is that everything is genuine. The tobacco, the whiskey, everything is about 1890. I should have to speak to Mrs. Hudson about this. 1890, and it's more difficult to find tobacco of that period than to find Leonardo da Vinci today. And all England helped us find these things. Everything in the room is named in the story. There's not a single object here which is not named in one or other of the stories.
Every object?
Yes, every object.
It's hard to imagine because there's so many.
You take those books, for instance. Now, those books had to be, we decided on the date, I think it was 1894, all those books had to be previous to 1894. If we found, for instance, Clark Russell of 1895, no good. So we searched England, we got them. All the chemical gears, all of the period was very kindly presented by the Wellcome Historical Museum. And you'll find all those relics of Holmes's personal characteristics and idiosyncrasies. Here's, for instance, you've got the famous syringe over there.
Tell me, why do you think your father made him a drug addict? It's rather later in the story.
Well, no, I think it was rather, at that period, you had a certain feel coming out of the earlier Victorian authors. And to make a man's outstanding, you had to give him certain little peccadilloes or vices of his own. And I think you had it coming through Stendhal and through De Quincey and others like that, you see. And so he made him a drug addict. Now, not exactly an addict, because he was always a master of the drug. Holmes was always a master of cocaine. Never was cocaine a master of Holmes. But now the medical profession have come to the conclusion that he was never a drug addict at all. That he did it to annoy Watson.
He pretended to.
He pretended. There was only water.
Oh, what a shame.
No, I'm with you. I agree. I think he was a cocaine taker, but he was never an addict. He was always the master.
Mm. What are the letters pinned?
Now you remember Holmes had a habit of skewering his unanswered correspondence to the mantelpiece with a jackknife, and there it is, all unanswered. There's his cigars, of course, in the coal scuttle, his tobacco in the Persian slipper, all these sticks, of course, connected either the Hound of the Baskervilles or with the poisoned belt, other famous cases. Those are some of his chemical formulae.
Those are all contemporary?
Oh, yes. Everything here is contemporary. Every single thing. And even these books contain, the famous indexes actually do contain reports on crime cases. We have a violin of the appearance. Unfortunately, it's not a Strad. But,
what's this? Oh, chemicals.
That is, yes, a contemporary book on chemicals. That's right. The microscope of the period, of course, low-power microscope. These are blood samples. Obviously, Holmes has been taking some experiments on blood. His boxing gloves. He's a great boxer, you remember. And then over here, you have other famous relics. By the way, I'm very sorry that they're both not here to greet you. They're out, but you see they were called away in the middle of their tea. Those are rather nice, these little lead balls here. They were actually taken out of the body of a murdered man. 2 bullets. Scotland Yard, they kindly gave them to Holmes.
It's part of the myth, isn't it, to pretend that Watson and Holmes are still alive. Do you play along with that?
There's no myth. Watson. Here's a gasogene, the famous gathogene. And that's where Watson used to keep the brandy. I think it was in there. Because or it might have been in here. I think it was in here because the cork comes out more easily. He was always rushing, you remember, to give clients brandy on the slightest provocation.
I love those bullets in the wall.
Ah, the VR, Victoria Regina. And that's the mark of the air gun slug. You remember in the empty house, the adventure of the empty house, when that loathsome character, Sebastian Moran, tried to rob us of Holmes. But it went through the shadow of Holmes's head, was really a plaster bust, and ended there.
You're playing along very much with the myth of Sherlock Holmes, but in fact your father rather resented the fact that his reputation depended on Holmes rather than the rest of his writing,
Well,
didn't he?
reputation, no. I wouldn't put it that way. I would say that he was fond of Holmes. The idea that he disliked Holmes is absolute nonsense. But he took the view, and I entirely